ASSITEJ South Africa is now 15 years old. We started in 2007, but the International Association was started in 1965 in Paris. And it is all over the world. It's in more than 100 countries. So ASSITEJ South Africa really came out of a recognition that there were so many practitioners in South Africa, so many artists who were working with and for children, but there was no network that connected them. Often they were doing the same kind of work. They were taking their work into schools, they were touring their productions to schools, they were doing workshops with teachers or with learners, and yet they were often very much in competition with one another and not really working together. And this created all kinds of problems within the area. And also we realized that there was so much benefit to be gained from being part of a broader network, being part of this international network which stretches around the world but also across the African continent. So in 2006, myself and Janet Watts, who'd both been involved in Creative Voices, an educational program that was there to support teachers who were teaching arts and culture at that time, but who weren't perhaps feeling secure about teaching the subject, they weren't trained in the subject. This program, Creative Voices, had been designed to really assist them in the classroom. So we came together and we realized that ASSITEJ first of all existed, that there wasn't an ASSITEJ South Africa, and we looked at how we could create an ASSITEJ South Africa to create a network of all these artists.
ASSITEJ is like a magical thread that weaves people and organizations together all over the world. And this thread provides a valuable tool for young people to discover themselves and the world around them. I want to thank Yvette and all the magical human beings that keep weaving those threads. It is like a beautiful tapestry that's being formed. Its final image has not been determined, but it has been beautiful in all its iterations and will be beautiful in all the iterations to come.
ASSITEJ SA, I came to know about it through Yvette Hardy. Yvette Hardy was my teacher at the National School of the Arts. So I have known Yvette since I was 13 years old and I'm now 40. So it's been a while. I met her, the reconnection happened when my younger sister passed and I'd gone to Newtown to look for a venue for her memorial service. I found Yvette at Couch and Coffee sitting there, and then I told her the news. She came to the memorial and then we had a meeting after that. I shared with her about a project that I was wanting to do, which was a children's arts festival called Ligotshwa Lisemanzi. In English, that translates to strike while the iron is hot. So that festival was inspired by the launch of the moral regeneration movement by our government. So I felt that children also need to be given a voice so that we can hear what they think is important in terms of bringing back morals. And then, so when I told Yvette this, she was so excited, and then she showed me a flyer written ASSITEJ International. I got excited. I was so excited. This was 2007, by the way. We then went to the National Arts Festival in Grahamstown. ASSITEJ was launched.
I think in South Africa, a lot of the work that is created for children or young audiences can be patronizing. It tends to focus on models which are, dare I say, outdated. And I think what ASSITEJ does is it says, you know, the child is a whole being. Where they are, who they are is important at that stage. And ASSITEJ focuses very much on particular developmental stages. So where the child is at 4 years is very different from where the child is at 7. And how can we make sure that that child's life is represented in the work that they are seeing? So really trying to support artists to understand how important the developmental phases are and how much theatre can talk to that and talk to the life of the child and the growth of the child in that moment.
ASSITEJ for me is like a motherboard for artists who are really invested in working with young people, you know, because I was once a young person but never had that support from other artists. So it was my first love when I heard about ASSITEJ, and hence I'm here now. We didn't have any creative arts in school. Like, we just had after school programs, you know, go to youth theaters and stuff. But came 2013, when I was a Drama for Life, you know, Drama for Life and ASSITEJ, you know, they are sister companies as well. And there were programs that ASSITEJ would host, and all the time it would remind me of where exactly I wanted to be, you know, to work with young people, to work in that field, you know. So 2014, it was the time of Warhorse when it first came to South Africa. That's when I really started engaging with ASSITEJ SA as a facilitator. We did workshops for over 5,000 children who saw Warhorse for free, and it really pulled me into this field of theatre for young audiences.
I think particularly pre-COVID and during COVID, the shift has been more in educational work. So how do we more equip teachers to make sure that teachers are trained effectively to run creative arts programs, and that creative arts is strong and alive in the schools? Because we see that, I think, as really the seat of where a lot of the creative arts training and high quality creative arts programs can start and develop. And so there seems to have been a shift from really looking at theatre into a general more creative arts development in dance training, in visual arts, in drama and in music. And how when teachers feel alive and open and receptive to the arts, they can then share that with their learners. So I think as much as there's been focus on young people, there's also been the development of adults, and how adults can see themselves as new beings and alive and artists in their own right, particularly if they are the ones who are creating and fostering that love for young people.
It has been a challenge for us to keep teachers for a long term so that they learn the culture of teaching creative arts. But one of the good advantages is in all the schools that we've been, you know, they are now thinking of methodologies of using creative arts to teach other subjects, you know. So because of these creative arts classes, they create discipline. The kids run to creative arts, you know, because they enjoy that. And other teachers are like, I also want my kids to come running to my class, you know. And also with the information that we've been getting, they said there's a lot of parents coming to the schools because their kids really want them to see what they do. So relationships in the homes, relationships within themselves, you know. So those some of the highlights or the good things that Kickstarter has created in the schools, and we wish that maybe if we can take them to more schools around the country, that would be very, very wonderful.
On the education side, it's been a long journey, but one of the things which has been fantastic has been that Kickstarter became more and more recognised as an educational program. And the district officials that were involved with the program were unanimously in support of it. And they kept on sending these fantastic reports back to the National Department. We then were approached by the National Department to become the textbook writers for the official life skills textbook, which is going into all the schools. It's been a bit delayed because of COVID. And so we were writing creative arts into all those life skills textbooks and using the methodology of Kickstarter, which then means that our teacher training workshops are obviously perfect as the support to the textbook because it's what the teachers will need to deliver on in the classroom.
The Kickstarter program is more of a curriculum-based or CAPS curriculum-based in-school program. very different from the Ditumong program, which is more after school. And why I was excited about Ditumong in particular is that for the first time, or maybe not for the first time, but for the first time since I've been a part of ASSITEJ, we are now working directly with children. Before, we were more working with production companies and artists that work with children or make work for children. And so now with the Ditumong project, I feel like we're starting to get into theatre by children, for children, instead of just theatre for youth, or, you know, it's theatre by the youth, it's theatre for the youth. And I'm very excited to be working in this program because we actually get to see what children are capable of. We get to see what they really want to talk about, what they really want to hear. As adults, we tend to think we know. So we'll write a story and then we'll say something like, oh, it's for all ages. Oh, the children will love it. But what I've enjoyed about the work that we do at ASSITEJ is that, yes, everyone can enjoy it, but who have we written it for?
What I've seen with the teachers, how this project helps them, is for me especially because I'm teaching them music, and teachers find music very, very difficult, and to a point that most of the teachers have just closed it off in their brains, and they've already told themselves that it is something they cannot do. And having simplified the method of teaching for them, it has made a very big difference, because for the first time in most of the schools that, in fact all the schools that we are reaching, they are able to do music. And it's not only about them teaching music just for their classes, but they are also asked by all the other teachers to help that happen from May to June. I feel that it has grown bigger because of this project, because teachers are now either helping conductors, teaching them how to teach them the music that is prescribed for this competition, or the teachers themselves who come to the project have started their own choirs. And it's not only that, they're starting their own projects in the communities, projects where they are teaching children. It's either after school or during weekends. They're teaching them to sing, they're teaching them to dance, they're teaching them to draw. You know, it is going bigger and bigger.
Igama lami nguSonto Ngcobo. I'm a teacher at Fezobuhle Primary School in KZN. I teach creative arts. Creative arts has been a tricky subject for us before we had this training with Kickstarter program. This program has helped us to unpack the CAPS document, because when we worked before we got this training, there were some gray areas that we did not want to address. But now I can say I'm confidently presenting everything that I need to, in terms of teaching, in terms of activities, and the activities that are training us here related to the CAPS document are fruitful. And we can see a great difference. Even the kids are behaving differently now. They are even loving now the creative arts. And also myself, I'm confident enough, and I've fallen in love with creative arts with the help of the program from the Kickstarter group, which is sponsored by ASSITEJ. It has helped us a great deal.
Before sifike lana kwa ASSITEJ kule Kickstart program, hayi bekukhona bekudumpotiani besingazi ukuthi uqalaphi qhubeke kanjani wenze njani. I-Kickstart le yaka ASSITEJ ayisize kakhulu. So nanamanje noma ke sekuya ngasekupheleni konyaka nasekupheleni kweterm ebesinikezwe u-ASSITEJ esikutholile kusisize kakhulu. Siyacabanga ukuthi abantwana bazosizakala kakhulu.
When coming to most of the skills, it was so difficult for me. But after the training, now I know what to do when coming to exercises, when coming to improvising. The learners are able to improvise, they are able to read and interpret, and again, they are able to reflect on what they did. So it's very interesting. And I can be able to reach all the learners. And now all the learners are performing very, very good.
In terms of the impact that this project has had on the larger society that we're working with, I think it's really profound. And I think one of the things that's been most exciting for me is I am very aware that in South Africa the arts were really for very few people, and coming from universities where arts were only really taught to white people, I think that this project has been massive in transforming the accessibility to the arts, and also giving the arts the attention that it deserves. That the environment is one of trust, so that people can take risks and they're able to be vulnerable together in a way that maybe they can't in their schools where they need to be the experts.
My earliest memory of engaging with ASSITEJ was, I think, 6 years ago in Kimberley. There was a congress there. I was invited to perform, and then that's when I started learning and going for workshops, because I never really knew there's a program like theatre for young people, for kids. And then after then I was invited yet again to come and join the Kickstarter program, where we facilitate in schools for creative arts, and it's been 5 years with the program now, and so far it has, for me, it's been a wonderful experience, since I've now been working with the partially blind and the completely blind, vision impaired, and the deaf, and it's been a wonderful experience. So nice, so beautiful, because I get to explore on ways on how to teach them, because we don't teach them the same way we teach other learners that are considered to be normal. So I have to find ways using all their senses that they use. You understand? So it's been quite a lovely challenge, actually. That I've even started attending sign language classes just to enhance on my way of communicating with some of these learners.
There is a way that art also instills confidence. There's a way that art helps you explore identity, who you are, to stand in front of a stage, to share something and to receive something. And so that artistic engagement started to do a lot just for the students' confidence. I think that was one of the biggest highlights. And also for the confidence of the teachers who were teaching creative arts. I found that quite fascinating, how there was also growth for them as well. And I think often in a classroom, right, there can be such a fourth wall. The teacher knows everything and they're right. But now within the program, we get to play together, right? And so how that starts to affect a healthier learning space for the students. And so now people, now children feel like we can ask questions.
If I think of my current school, one of the teachers told me the other day that school dropout rate have totally dropped now. They don't struggle with some of the learners to come to the school nowadays, and that the learners even have much more discipline, and they don't struggle with the learners even in other subjects, because of them finally have a subject that the teachers know how to conduct, and they now can express themselves in those subjects to then perform better in other subjects. So for me, creative arts and then this Kickstarter project and how they approach it and how they do their trainings and how they are hands-on right through the years at the school, evaluating every step of the teachers and seeing that the teachers are fine and the teachers are in a process to go and teach these lessons on their own really help and is really effective. And I hope this project can run out and can roll out into the other provinces as well.
You get into the schools that have teachers who have been trained by ASSITEJ here. You go there and you find the posters on their walls that show that these teachers now know what they are doing. And when arts was being used as a period for cleaning or just for sitting and doing nothing, where the teachers felt that it's their time to take a break, it is now different. Teachers are actually fighting to get more periods.
It's very important to have an organization like ASSITEJ that's looking out for kids. Because I was not really a late bloomer, but I was seen later. The whole time I was behind closed doors, you understand? So we have an organization that looks out for kids. The only thing that needs to take part is having, engaging with parents that are allowing kids to engage with such programs.
I would like to see a South Africa where our children are engaged at foundation level. Not only that, but we'd like to see their creativity coming out. We'd like to see them playing and expressing themselves in a very playful and fun way. And through that, we would like to see them growing up into adults that will go into a workplace where there's a lot of innovation and creativity in those workspaces, where people engage more in a fun way. And would like to see a South Africa where children are not so angry.
I think introducing young people to theatre is very crucial in not only in their development because for me I was very shy. You go back to my high school days, the teachers will tell you I was part of the furniture. I'd be so quiet the whole year. And with the kids that I've been working with throughout the years, with the Kickstarter program, I've noticed that it builds their confidence and their self-esteem. They get to be very free in certain spaces because of the art and how they express themselves. Not only in school, but when we're done in school, they go back home. They've got to learn something new about themselves. This is what I can do. This is so possible. They go back home, Mama, look, this is what I can do. Today we did this, we did this, we did this. It makes them shine. Without even being on stage, without performing, it just makes them shine. So for me, I think it's a wonderful idea bringing young people into theatre.
The importance of working with children, and especially on this African continent where sometimes we have got this idea that children are seen and not heard. Children are around us, but they're not necessarily participating. And I think the arts are changing that. The arts are changing that culture. The children must be part. Children must tell us that I do not like this. I like this. Or maybe this is a good idea, maybe this is not. I think as adults, and especially in this stressed out continent, we have a lot of richness in our children, especially looking at a country like South Africa, where the majority of the population is young people. It is no use engaging the rest of us who are old. We are few. We are few. We need to engage those who are the majority and those who will make the most meaningful work. And it is important to get them young. And I think this is why ASSITEJ is important, and especially on this continent. People's dreams have been shattered by the time they get to a certain age. But if we can try to instill hope and inspiration and motivation and relevance while the people are still young, it is very difficult to break that when they're older. If we instill confidence, self-esteem, self-worth while we are still young, then we do not have these defeated adults in the future. And I think this is why the work of ASSITEJ is important. It is building confident adults. It is building brave adults. It is building adults who are not afraid to move around, to find solutions. And I think that is what is important, because we are at a place where we are building our continent.
I'm running a program called the Social Employment Fund Project. We're calling it the Arts for Youth Project. And it's a massive undertaking. I think it's one of the biggest programs that ASSITEJ is running. And it's marrying those two worlds, that where I first was introduced on the recipient end with ASSITEJ. Now we are running this program. We're employing, currently, as we sit here, 1,630 people around the country. All artists, all based in arts and crafts and music, dance, drama, cultural economies, social economy, and we're working with 133 organizations around the country, an average of 150 people per province. There's obviously more in some of the bigger provinces, and yeah, it's really exciting. We've got coordinators working on the ground in each province, 15 to be exact, around the country, and it's been really exciting to see all the work that's happening already anyway around the country within the social economy and the artist economy.
We've come up with an idea called Arts as a Method. So Arts as Method is there to use the arts to teach other subjects, right? So using visual arts to maybe teach science or mathematical concepts, using poetry to teach historical concepts, and how that just also builds the language of children.
ASSITEJ South Africa is more than just the educational work, although that's a very strong component. It's also really about professional work for children by professional artists, and we have a big emphasis on creating access to that work. So making sure that children can receive the work either through festivals or through touring to schools, or through going to local theatres or local community spaces and seeing the work there. And then another aspect of the work which is really important is supporting the artists to make the work. And I think that's been something that has been key to ASSITEJ South Africa. We have really built a strong family of artists who believe that this work is important, who get a lot of joy from working with one another and from seeing what one another are doing. They get inspired by one another, and that's very much part of what makes ASSITEJ South Africa tick, are all those artists who are a part of our family.
So I have been involved with ASSITEJ right from the very start. I was at that very first meeting in Makanda, it was then called Grahamstown, and I've been involved ever since. ASSITEJ is an essential organisation. The fact that creating theatre, particularly for independent theatre makers, is really hard. It's expensive, it takes money to tour, it's hard to access our audiences, and so to have an umbrella body that supports all these aspects of our work is absolutely essential. And over the years, my work has been supported by ASSITEJ, and I've supported ASSITEJ in turn.
ASSITEJ came into that pivotal time in my life where I was about to just break into the industry, and I was looking for a door in, and I was hungry. I was a very hungry young guy. So Yvette Hardy, who is also very, very instrumental in my path, Yvette Hardy saw a potential in me, and one of the first sort of artistic retreats that she picked me for was the one to France, Paris. I was 20, I think 2021, and she had no business selecting me for that. We called it Inspiring a Generation program. I remember it very well. She sent me an inbox on Facebook because I had applied for it months before, and then I saw an inbox on Facebook. Who gets selected for opportunities like this via inboxes on Facebook? And then I realized she had struggled to get my email. And then I accepted. I went to France. So went there, saw the world, came back, and I wrote a play off the back of that opportunity called Narrative Dreams that ASSITEJ sponsored to go to NAF, National Arts Festival. Got to NAF, there was a person who selects Ovation Awards, and we got selected for a Standard Bank Ovation Award. ASSITEJ was the foundation of that play. And I think that because of that opportunity, I realized that, okay, this is going to be a lifetime commitment. I'm going to commit my life to writing theatre for young audiences.
My first connection to ASSITEJ South Africa was actually in 2014 when ASSITEJ SA and ASSITEJ Denmark made a project together called Inspiring a Generation, where 4 artists from South Africa came to the Danish April Festival and saw performances and made connections to Danish artists. That's my first specific project with ASSITEJ South Africa. I felt it was very meaningful because it was created in a way that it made a lot of sense in terms of founding those artists that exactly could just need that exactly that connection to Danish artists to make a change, to make a development. So that was my first connection to the really strong always vision and very precise impact of the projects of South Africa. So it was something that I brought into other projects I would make for Danish T-Wake practitioners, exactly always thinking about how does this trip or how does this program make a change to what these artists will do back home in Denmark.
When I heard about ASSITEJ, I think was when I found out about the Inspiring a Generation program. I think that was my introduction to ASSITEJ actually. And we did a couple of workshops within Kosnati Khar, may his soul rest in peace. We did a couple of workshops. Part of the process was, you explore writing for young people, young audiences, in a space. And then once you've done that, then you go to experience what other people are doing with theatre for young audiences. And I think that's when the opportunity to go to Pittsburgh came. And I remember the first time we did the Budibe Children's Theatre Festival. Again, it was just belief driving me, and I didn't know it was going to happen. I have a cousin who knows people in the council, and we're like, yeah, let's take it to the chief. We took it to the chief, and they welcomed it. So then we went to, part of the plan was we were going to go to the schools, we're going to work with the schools for a period of time, and then after that, we're going to create, everything will emanate to this huge kind of festival, similar to what I saw in Pittsburgh. And, yeah, but him with us, we went through that journey and made it happen. We just got everybody together, and the schools, the community, the kids. I remember the first one we had, I think the first one we had about 1,000 kids.
And that really was what we were trying to do with Inspiring a Generation, was to both inspire the artists, but then for them to be able to use their experiences to inspire that next generation of children and young people who they were working with. And that program has been enormously influential. If I look back at all the artists who are coming through now as really strong practitioners of theatre for young audiences, they were part of Inspiring a Generation.
Making work for young people has kind of taken me back to the basics of creating work for young people and also listening, because the way that younger audiences listen is very different to the way that we kind of receive and listen to theatre. So because you're making work for an audience that listens in a very particular way, in a very distilled, in a very kind of attentive way, you're forced to make work with the same level of detail and attention and care. And the thing with making work for young audiences is that you can't really rush. You have to take a little bit more care. And also because, if we instill the culture of theatre at an early age, I think it will shift a lot in our society. If you kind of mass produce a group of people who look at society in a way that we want them to look at society or ask of them to look at society. You create a group of people or a community of people who engage with the world differently. And I think that's important.
What do you do if the teacher says you're too big to come to school?
I said all 6-year-old children have the right and freedom to go to school.
I think that the impact of ASSITEJ South Africa is really to broaden people's imaginations of what is possible. It sounds very lofty, but I think that the engagement with the school space, with educators, with children around the arts really is a way of saying that the arts is useful. It can be used in myriad ways, whether that means dreaming another future for yourself, whether that means understanding yourself and the world around you in different ways. One of my favorite projects, one of my most recent projects with ASSITEJ has been exploring racism in high schools in Cape Town, but using the play Sainthood as the entry point into discussing and exploring this issue. And it's written from the perspective of 5 high school students in an all-boys school in South Africa. And I think that impact cannot be understated.
Since the beginning of the COVID pandemic and all of us being in our houses and all of us being at home and hardly traveling, ASSITEJ came up with a really, really cool idea called Creative Connections. Every few months, we've been trying to host sessions that we call Creative Connections. And that's literally just our ASSITEJ organization or our ASSITEJ branch coming into connection with other ASSITEJ organizations on the African continent. So ASSITEJ Tanzania, ASSITEJ Kenya, I think we also did ASSITEJ Mozambique, ASSITEJ Nigeria. It was really interesting and inspiring to find out what other countries are doing.
As far as I can see, ASSITEJ South Africa is taking a leading position in Africa in order to mentor and help other countries in Africa that want to set up an ASSITEJ center but don't quite know how to do it. ASSITEJ South Africa is very structured. They know exactly what they're doing. And I've seen this all firsthand when I was with Yvette Hardy, the president of South Africa in Nigeria, where they were just setting up an ASSITEJ center and where we could help to figure out what they could do and how it should be structured with a group of very enthusiastic people in Nigeria.
Right from the beginning, the challenges for any NPO, any organization that is a non-profit organization, an organization that is working for good and not concerned about profit, is always the funding. Finding the money to fulfill our dreams. The dreams are easy. It's easy to strategize and imagine beautiful things to do, but to find the support for it is always difficult. And that's difficult for individual artists, and it's also been difficult for ASSITEJ over the years. But with the extraordinary leadership of Yvette Hardy, the director, and also for many years the president of the international organization, the ASSITEJ South Africa really managed to thrive.
For something as well established as ASSITEJ South Africa, it has a function in the continent that is got experience, but also got energy, and also has trialled a whole bunch of different ways of managing and doing within a difficult context as well. So it's got relationship there for people to trust.
I think ASSITEJ South Africa has been excellent in sustaining the work and to continue with the work that is sometimes very hard, because many of us work under very small circumstances with the limited financial means, and ASSITEJ South Africa has been, as I said, the driving force both within South Africa but also within Africa, and I hope really that there will be new possibilities to organize new congresses, artistic gatherings and other events in Africa, so that all artists in Africa can continue to be part of ASSITEJ as an international network and an international organization.
And also we got ambitious on the international front because we started to think there has not been a Congress of ASSITEJ International on the African continent. Could South Africa perhaps be the host for that Congress? And we started to think about that around 2011. And in fact, I remember having conversations with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture at that stage, just Arts and Culture, about that already in 2011. And we invited the department to come to the 2011 Congress where I was voted in so that they could see what a Congress was. And they did come and they were very impressed. So that started a conversation which then led to us in 2014 bidding to host the World Congress and winning the bid with like 98% of the votes, which was fantastic.
I was one of the many delegates who travelled all the way to Cape Town for the 19th edition of the ASSITEJ World Congress and Festival. And this was a remarkable event. It was so exciting not only to see works showcased from all across the world, but particularly from the nation and continent of Africa itself and South Africa as a country. From that visit, I met many new artists that I'd never seen or heard of before, and actually invited one production back to Edinburgh to perform at our festival, and it was greeted with incredible critical acclaim.
My most exciting theatre moment, probably in my life, was being the festival director of the Cradle of Creativity in 2017. That really brought everything together between people from all over the world coming together to celebrate this art form and to share ideas, to share perspectives, to meet each other and create collaborations. And that for me was a real peak of my engagement with ASSITEJ.
Left to prove for it. Sis, do you remember the ceremony?
My first contact with ASSITEJ South Africa through Yvette, of course, and that motivated me to try and have an ASSITEJ National Center in Nigeria. I like the way they try to bring, members together to work for children and young people. I am very passionate about the growth, artistic growth of children and young people. So when I saw an African country doing this, I felt it's something that we can replicate in Nigeria. So it's been an eye-opener.
The 90th ASSITEJ World Congress was one of the highlights in ASSITEJ International. It was a great variety of shows on stage in Cape Town. It was a productive meeting point with the artists from the continent, and it was a big step for changing the artistic standards in aesthetics, music and dance. As honorary president of ASSITEJ, I wish ASSITEJ South Africa all the best for further developments. I hope you will get this appreciation for your network as it is justified by your excellent work. Congratulations for 15 years. Good luck for the next 10 years and go on for your fight for more theatre, for more people.
2017 to now was really about how do we leverage the success of this event? So now everyone is excited about South African work and African work. They started to invite ASSITEJ South Africa companies to tour to China, to Germany, to the US, etc. How do we support our artists to make use of those opportunities? And then how also do we get our funders and our supporters in South Africa to understand just where we've come to as an organization? How can we ensure the longevity of this? So one of the things that we did was we decided that Cradle of Creativity, which was the title of the festival held at the 19th ASSITEJ World Congress in Cape Town, Cradle of Creativity would become a standalone festival. And we wanted to do it as a biennial festival every 2 years. We felt it would be too much to try and raise funding for it every year. So we thought every 2 years was more practical. And also we had the idea to move it around the country. So we want to make sure that other parts of the country also get to experience what it is to be part of this international ASSITEJ family. But in 2019, we tested that idea. We had our first independent Cradle of Creativity festival back in Cape Town where we'd done the Congress so that we could refine it. And it was a fantastic event. It was smaller than the original Congress, obviously, but it was still a pretty big festival with 30 productions, with international productions and South African productions, with producers coming to see work and invite work to international festivals, and it was very exciting.
I also returned to the Cradle of Creativity follow-up festival that occurred 2 years later. And again, this was just such a remarkable event showcasing the very diversity and breadth of talent that exists across South Africa. And I think for me, as a festival director, this alone, this single thing that ASSITEJ South Africa has managed to do in 15 years, to stage these 2 large-scale events, is nothing short of phenomenal. The amount of kind of lobbying that needs to go on with governments for sponsorship, to get people to believe that the arts and creativity for children are valuable and important. And ASSITEJ South Africa has managed to do this, and managed to do this in such a shining way.
We also were developing our education program, which I mentioned right at the beginning. So it had now become Kickstarter. In 2017, it won an award from BASA for being the best development program for that year. And we then managed to get funding for the next 3 years from our funder, the Rand Merchant Bank. And so we were into a process now of really delivering this program and wanting to grow the program, wanting to take it national. And we were on that trajectory, and then of course, COVID. So in 2020, everything kind of shut down on one level. And on another level, because things went online, a whole lot of new opportunities opened up. And we also realized that we had to find ways to engage our artists who were now left without income. They had tours booked, they had events booked, they had festivals booked, and suddenly they didn't have work. And so ASSITEJ South Africa worked really hard during COVID to try and keep artists employed for all that period. And in fact, we were able to bring them full-time with us for 3 months to do a lot of more intensive work around creating videos that we could send to the teachers. And we were able to do that through National Arts Council funding. So we tried to find ways to keep artists employed. And then we also worked to get materials out to children, because we realized children were sitting at home, they had no toys, they had no games, they had no stimulation, they couldn't come to theatre, we couldn't take theatre to them, so what could we do? We worked with partners to create activity books that used theatre-based games and activities and took characters from plays that we had created and told stories using those characters within the books. And we were able to get over 200,000 of those out to children in 6 languages of South Africa. It was also a very productive time, a difficult time, but a productive time. And now, thankfully, we're coming out of that. I'm not saying COVID is over, but we are in a slightly different phase where, thankfully, theatres are now opening up. We've just come back from the National Arts Festival, where we had 6 productions on at the festival, where we were able to celebrate our 15 years at the festival. And it feels like things are starting up again. So we're in a space now where we're hoping to develop some new programs which can be live. Also, we're looking forward to our Cradle of Creativity being live again, that we can start to engage directly with the rest of the world again.
And today we're celebrating 15 years of ASSITEJ, and I'm wishing for another 15 years and another 15 years after that and another 15 years after that, because I know there's still wonders to be done with this program.
everybody in my circle was telling me, you gotta meet Yvette Hardy. It was saying, you gotta meet the mama bear, you gotta meet the mama bear. And so 2016, we actually met, Yvette and I, Hardy met here at Fest 2016. And then we just gelled and we clicked, and she understood our vision, and we understood ASSITEJ's vision, and immediately, without even asking, we just knew that it's going to be a good working relationship with ASSITEJ. And the work ASSITEJ does is really, it's phenomenal. It's who we are. So it was a complete hand-in-glove collaboration Amandla has with ASSITEJ. It's been very good years, and I can't wait for the next few decades to be even better.
Hi, I'm Paulo Meruizo from Brazil, CBT, ASSITEJ Brazil. I would like to say happy birthday from ASSITEJ South Africa. It's a very good moment for all of us from the ASSITEJ family.
I feel very honored to have been part of the ASSITEJ journey since day one. It's been an inspiring journey, and even after 15 years, feels like it's just beginning. Happy 15 years, ASSITEJ, and I wish that you have many, many more.
I look forward to a lot more collaboration between ASSITEJ South Africa and Namibia, because there are so many similarities between the two countries, and ASSITEJ South Africa has pioneered a lot, especially with Yvette Hardy. And I personally look up to her because she has pushed through a lot of difficult barriers, and she has crossed so many hurdles that I look up to and would like to cross and also surpass in the Namibian context. And I look forward to collaborations, exchange, and then also to create more theatre within the communities. And I believe ASSITEJ South Africa has the correct framework for us, specifically in Namibia, to learn from.
The vision for the next 15 years, I think what would be awesome is if ASSITEJ as an organization can grow exponentially the way it has over the previous 15, because the impact and the growth that it's had on the theatre industry for young audiences in South Africa, the arts community at large in South Africa is been immense. And I think if the trajectory can stay the same, that'll be amazing.
Okay, what I see in the next 15 years is every child getting access to the theatre. Every child getting access to creative arts in the classrooms, and every child being able to express themselves through performances and theatre.
I'm really excited to see, fundamentally for me, because it's what I run, the Kickstarter project be in every province in the next 15 years. I would love to see trained and passionate creative arts teachers in all schools, and I would love to see learners engaging in in-school and after-school programs for music, dance, drama, visual arts, and generally across the board. I'd love to see the standard of creative arts really lifted in the country. So a real authentic shift from STEM into more of a STEAM engagement. So including the arts, using the arts to teach other subjects, to really lift the humanity, the development, and the hope and inspiration in our country.
ASSITEJ South Africa, you have done so much for a lot of us. You are a beacon of light in a country that is so very troubled. Thank you for giving us a platform to tell our stories. A lot of us have plenty of stories. We are growing up in a South Africa that is very political, that has a terrible economy, families are displaced, a history that is, I can go on for years, but a South Africa that has a wealth of stories to tell. What we're trying to do is to heal the country, and you are supplying voices to young people to be able to do that.
As ASSITEJ celebrates its 15 years in South Africa, I'm very excited. Why 15 years is a long time? And 15 years tells us that there is a hunger for this work. there is a relevance for this work. We are still alive, we are still here because the work is relevant. And I'm very thankful to ASSITEJ for pushing that, for letting us know that, you know, children's theatre or children's work is not the ugly stepsister of adult theatre, that it's a real part of art and that it's a real part of this industry and a real part of this world. And how we've also pushed that the Naledi Theatre Awards has a space for children. That those who do children's work are acknowledged, that this is serious, that this is important. And so I would like to encourage artists who are growing, artists who are trying to find their feet as to where they are, come through and see what we do with children, the work that we do for children, and see if that's not for you, and see how you can help us contribute to this very, very big work that is not so recognized, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And I would like people to be inspired, to be motivated, and to know that this work is relevant, that it is beautiful, and that it is important.
Happy 15-year anniversary, ASSITEJ. I've been there since the beginning, so I feel like I'm also growing. So enjoy everybody. Let's take this further, and yes, to another 15 years. More work, more impact, more exposing young people to the arts, more supporting of artists. Yes.
The output has been really incredible, and to that I want to say congratulations and happy birthday, and I look forward to the next 15 years, and hopefully in that time we might even see a theatre that's dedicated to theatre for young people.
I want to say ASSITEJ, congratulations. You are a champion on the forefront within our industry. You are really making waves. You have made a huge difference in my life, and I'm sure in the lives of so many others, and keep up the amazing, exciting work, and I hope to continue working and growing with you.
Congratulations to ASSITEJ South Africa, and I suppose a special mention must be made to the extraordinary Yvette Hardy, who's really driven ASSITEJ, being so present and so significant in theatre for young audiences in South Africa.
Happy 15 years to ASSITEJ South Africa. I have been a child. I've been with you since 2008. I have learned so much, and I have grown to be, I suppose, the uncle of the organization who's making sure things are happening. You have blessed my heart, and I wish you to bless other children's hearts more, to create that access more to all the children in South Africa. Everything that you are, there's so much value that you are bringing to this country. Keep doing that, keep kicking that thing, and I love you. Thank you.
I want to join our South African family, ASSITEJ South Africa, to celebrate this special anniversary. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being the sister to us. Thank you for the leadership we have in Yvette Hardy. She has been like a light to us, and we are following gladly. Thank you so much.
Ditaba ha di ngata, ke letsatsi la tswalo. Thank you everyone for all that you do for the children of South Africa and the world.
15 is a very important year. There's extraordinary amount of, in a human being, there's an extraordinary amount going on in a 15-year-old, and I think that's true for South Africa, ASSITEJ as well. So congratulations to everybody, and hip hip hooray!
So I think it's a very positive time for ASSITEJ South Africa. I think we've been through a lot of different challenges, but ultimately we are the stronger for it. And I know that we can look forward to the next 15 years with great confidence.
ma stole sawubona me ma stole sawubona me ma stole uphumgyothenga nina uphumgyothenga nina uphumgyothenga nina ngiphumgyothe ngisigqoko ngiphumgyothe ngisigqoko ngiphumgyothe ngisigqoko sibiza mali nina sibiza mali nina sibiza mali nina sibiza ishumi lopondo sibiza ishumi lopondo sibiza ishumi lopondo sibiza mali nina sibiza mali nina sibiza mali nina sibiza ishumi lopondo sibiza ishumi lopondo sibiza ishumi lopondo imali engaka masithole imali engaka masithole imali engaka masithole Mama Pakita, Mama Pakita, Mama Pakita, buy your baby a papaya, a ripe papaya, and a banana, a ripe papaya that the baby will enjoy. Mama, Mama, Mama Pakita.